Okay, very good afternoon, everyone, and warm welcome to this webinar on Can Immersive Technologies Drive Sales. So this webinar is a part of a series of webinar conducted in collaboration between the William J. Clinton Leadership Institute at the Queen's Business School and Digital Transformation Flexible Fund. And the main aim of these webinar series is to support the digital transformation journey of the local micro and small businesses within Northern Ireland. So today's topic is on can immersive technologies drive sales? And there will be one more webinar on next Tuesday as well. For more information, please scan the QR code. So before we move on to the core of the webinar, let me introduce ourselves. So my name is Niladri Palit, and I work as a lecturer within the subject group of Information Technology, Analytics, and Operations Management within Queen's Business School at Queen's University, Belfast. I'm here joined by my guest, Mr. Michael McGlade. And Michael, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, so I am the founder and creative director of Rover. We're based on the Lisburn Road in Belfast itself. I'm really just a creative studio that has decided to specialize in augmented reality and virtual reality and so on over the last 5 or 6 years. And I look forward to expanding upon that later in the presentation.
Thank you very much, Michael. So before I head on to the core discussion on immersive technology, let me very quickly give you some overview information about the DTFF. So this DTFF, or this Digital Transformation Flexibility Funding Scheme, this is a demand-led grant scheme. And the key purpose of this scheme is to help your business transformation. And I'm sure as a participant from a small and micro organization, you appreciate the fact that every penny you spend for you as an investment to make any business changes as part of your day-to-day business or for longer run, every penny you spend, you got to be thoughtful about it, and perhaps you need to give it thinking about 1,000 times or even 10,000 times, because financial barrier is one such constraint which is very prominent in any small and medium scale enterprises. And that's where this DTFF funding scheme aims to help your journey towards the business transformation through the digital transformation. And it's a capital grant scheme, so it's not going to fund any revenue-based expenditure. And the total funding available is 7.5 million altogether, but any individual entity can apply for between 5,000 to 20,000. And it is being delivered by all the local authorities within Northern Ireland and supported by the Invest but the administration is with the Newry and Down district councils. Now, there are certain eligibility criteria there. So you have to be based in Northern Ireland, and you could be either a micro organization or a small business. And you have to have some VAT registration and actively trading for at least 12 months. Now, there are certain exceptions or certain issues around the VAT registration. Rather than I do the talking on those, what I would suggest you feel free to contact the DTFF team and log on to the DTFF website, details of which I'm going to display in a moment's time, where you may find more information about the issues around VAT registration. And it is pretty much open to every sector except the primary agriculture, forestry, and fisheries. And you need to buy one or more of the technologies from 6 different sets of technologies outlined within the DTFF scope. And again, the details can be found out from the website. And it has to be a capital expenditure. And the most important thing is you should have a digital transformation plan to be embedded as part of the application. I will shed some light in the end that if you struggle to create such plan, where to seek for more help, I'll redirect you in the end. And it's a 6-stage process. So the pre-application stage 1 is the pre-application briefing sessions, which has already kicked off, I think, yesterday. And there will be a few more sessions, and depending on where your local council areas are. And so please do have a look at the website for more details on where and when the DTFF pre-briefing sessions will be held. And then after all the sessions are over, there will be a deadline for submission of the expression of interest. And if you are successful through that, you will be invited for a full application. And after that, the application will be assessed by a panel member, and the panel consisting of us from the Queen's Business School and the council members as well. And if someone is successful after the final application stage, they will be invited through a letter of offer, and you will usually have a timeline to think whether it is right for you or not. And if you decide, yeah, it is something for yourself, then you need to sign the contract, and then the ball is pretty much in your court. And you will have time since then to make a purchase, install, implement the system, and claim the money back. So that's how the things will unfold. So for more information, please log on to the DTFF website or scan the QR code. Now, before I head on to the core of the presentation, I would just like to double check if there is any question at all. If there is any question at any point in time, please feel free to populate the chat box. And then in the end, when we will have the floor open for Q&A, we will try to answer your questions as best as we can. Okay, so at the moment, I can't see any questions in the chat box, so I'm going to move on. So this is the agenda for today's webinar. So I will talk you through some of what are the immersive technologies, some of the key applications of immersive technologies. And then I will hand it over to Michael, where Michael will share some of his experience and some good case examples. And then once Michael stops his part, I will come back again to redirect you to some of the further help and support. And then in the end, I will open the floor for some Q&A. Now, so to begin with, so before I begin, let me just also clarify that throughout the presentation, and I will be using references to some of the organization's case studies and perhaps a film from Hollywood. But let me clarify that none of these entities have paid me to do promotions for them. They haven't. And I'm not doing the promotions for them. I'm using them simply just a good case example where the immersive technologies have been used. So that's one thing to clarify. So just a fun fact from Johnny English Strikes Again. So if you have seen the movie Johnny English Strikes Again, please type yes in the chat box. Okay. Okay, so a decent response. So some of our audience have actually seen the movie Johnny English Strikes Again. So I was hoping that, maybe less and less people, but thank you for those who have shared that they have seen. Now, those who have seen, do you remember the scene where Johnny English was actually wearing some sort of headset or a big glass and was actually making the mess of the London city? Do you remember the scene? Anyone? He was even, hitting people in a shop with a piece of baguette bread holding on his hand. All right, so maybe people don't remember that. Okay, so some of our audience do even remember that. Okay, so moving on to the next question. Have you used Google Lens from your phone? Okay, so mixed bag of response, some yes, some no. Okay. Right, so I will come back to those again, but these two cases have actually used the immersive technologies. And I will come back to that in a moment's time, that how. And so the next thing is, which fascinates me quite well because the tourism industries are quite, making good use of that. Just the idea that enjoying the reality sitting at the living room of your home. So, traveling to the cliffs of Moher in Republic of Ireland, or going to Las Vegas, or the big Almaty Lake in Kazakhstan, or the Sydney Opera House, Machu Picchu, or the pyramids of Tutankhamun, just sitting in your living room from Belfast or surrounding. Is that possible? The technology is making it possible, and the tourism industry is making the benefit out of it. Yeah, of course, it is possible virtually. It is not the real case, but virtually it is possible to have more of a realistic experience of that, even without being there. Now, this is where the immersive technologies come in. So that you have either your surrounding completely replaced, or you have your surrounding with some information added to it. So PwC has defined immersive technologies that it's a virtual reality, augmented reality, cryptocurrency, and other technologies together forms the building block of the new virtual world. Now, I will start with the virtual reality. So the cases of Johnny English, where Johnny English was wearing a headset, and that headset simulated the house environment of the rival team where Johnny needed to take some action upon, completely replacing the real world. Now, because it was a fun movie, so Johnny instead thought the real world in the London surrounding is he actually discounted the fact that the real world was getting replaced by the virtual world. So he thought the London was the place where he needed to do all those things. So instead of making the right action, he made total mess of London City by even hitting a shop owner with a piece of baguette bread. So that's virtual reality, because Johnny's world was replaced by the virtual world. Same was the case, my imagination, if I can have the feeling of how the Lake Almaty will look like in Kazakhstan, sitting in my bedroom or my living room using the VR headset. So the entire reality surrounding me is replaced by a virtual world. On the contrary, for the augmented reality, the real world is not replaced. Rather, the technology inscribes some text, some audio, visuals on the real world to make it more informative and facilitates a smooth decision making for us. So the Google Lens thing I was talking about, so I think majority of the smartphone these days are equipped with the facilities of Google Lens. So if I am in a foreign land And if I am heading to a metro station or an airport where the language written is in the foreign language, which I am not conversant with, if I hover my Google Lens and press translate, it will do the thing for me. And if I hover my Google Lens over an architect, famous architect, which I am not familiar with, if the screenshot is good enough, it will decode some of the information about it. So that's what the Google Lens does. Now, that's augmented reality. So the real-time information is graphic or text or audio is getting integrated onto the real world. The real world is not replaced. Now, both have their advantages and disadvantages. The virtual reality, the whole entire reality is replaced by the virtual setup, whereas the augmented reality, the real world is not getting replaced, but certainly new, information get inscribed and on the reality. And the problem with the augmented reality is it's not the full immersion. You can have some additional information, but not the full immersion. So the mixed reality tries to overcome the shortcomings of AR and VR and tries to create more balanced immersive experience. And I'll talk about that in a moment's time again. So the term extended reality is an umbrella term which includes AR, VR, and MR. So it's more of an umbrella term. Now, some more real life example by VR is like this company called Immerse. In conjunction with Shell, they created some sort of VR system for Shell where they can replicate the oil spillage and oil tankers catching fire, that type of emergency situation virtually replicated. And the participants can participate and the assessors can connect with the participant to see how the participants are actually reacting to those scenarios, helping Shell to train their employees. Now, you may be questioning, they could have created the scenario for real life. Yes, they could have, but the risk involved in that is enormous because they would have to set fire in one of their oil tankers to see for themselves how the people are reacting to those scenario. Now, instead of that, they're virtually creating the scenario, and that is giving them many benefits like high throughput of the trainees, and the most important of all, they have standardized the training procedure, and as a result they can recreate the process consistently time after time, and they can avoid the high risk scenario being really created in real life. So they're avoiding that risk as well. The company called Mars, the retailer Mars, they have created some VR-based system again with the company Immerse, and that helped them creating some sort of storing and shelving process within their shop floor, allowing trainees to get trained by trainers from remote location. And the most important benefit they got out of it is that, again, the standardization of the training and improving the employee performance. And not only that, the trainers don't need to travel long distance all the time. They can do it from the remote location. And that is a huge cost benefit. That has a huge cost benefit for the company. And if the employees are well trained, in the longer run, it will drive sales for them through those process-driven training processes. Now, on the whole, the VR has quite a lot of scope for the SMEs. So certainly it can create some sort of wow effect through more engaged customer experiences. You can even create virtual showrooms, new ways of marketing, new ways of training people more in more training people in a more cost-effective way. It even helps you with product development, design, prototyping, create getting created virtually. Now, moving on from your entire surrounding being replaced by a virtual reality, this augmented reality, as I mentioned earlier, doesn't replace the reality surrounding you, rather inscribe pictures, text to help your decision making. And one such names immediately pops up in my mind is the IKEA's Place app. So if you look at the pictures on the screen, the one on the left hand side is a reality where you do not have any sofa or settee immersed into the place. Now, if you open the IKEA's Place app and then scan the physical space and then browse from the IKEA's furniture list and then choose the furniture which you would like to see if that furniture fits within the real space you have or not. And you click, and that's it. You see the picture on the right side. So the picture on the right side is actually some picture being inscribed onto the reality. So the sofa is not really there. It's an inscription of the picture on the reality. Now, what IKEA has helped through the use of these AR technology is to allow customer to see for themselves before having made the decision to buy the wrong product. So wrong product in the sense you may buy a big settee and only to realize that the settee won't fit in within the four walls you have. That's not a very nice scenario. So what IKEA is doing, they're letting customers to see for themselves what is the right product for them. So more engaged way of customer service, offering customer more, better product. Amazon Salon in London. So in London, there's a salon called Amazon Salon where you can actually experience through the help of AR technology without applying any color to your hair, what different colors of hairstyle will look like given your own persona without applying any of those color to your hair. So that's Amazon Salon. So you can have that full immersive experience. Again, a new way of allowing customer to experience the service. Gatwick Airport. I'm sure, if not all, most of you have traveled through Gatwick Airport at some point in time in their life. Now, I'm sure you will appreciate the fact that at times it is quite difficult to navigate through the Gatwick Airport because it is a big airport, and sometimes it is quite difficult to navigate where to go next and where not to go. So this Gatwick Airport app again has the capacity to inscribe some extra text, some pictures, and some descriptions on the real surrounding, redirecting people to the right direction. And this last example I'm going to highlight is the AR within the warehousing setup. So this company called Oculogics, they realized the fact that within the air warehousing system, particularly I think it's an American company, so within the warehousing system, particularly when the temperatures are not so favorable, having too many hand-holding devices with you is not really an easy task, which means that you need to have some sort of solution. So they have come up with this AR-based glass, which can help the warehouse employees with extra set of text, direction, redirecting them where next they need to go to pick up or do some shorting operation within the warehouse. So that's what they have done. I mean, there are videos around some of those applications, including Amazon's Place app or AR at Oculogics. For copyright reasons, I am not allowed to play that here. But if anyone is interested, feel free to give me a shout in the chat box. I would be more than happy to redirect you to the right direction. Now, before I move on, so let me quickly wrap up like what are the benefits of augmented reality. So the augmented reality, as I have been discussing through the various examples, has got the potential to improve your customer engagement, or you can even create more interactive product visualization, new ways of advertising, better warehouse operation. And there is a good article published in the Harvard Business Review, which I would encourage you to have a look at that. It's an interesting one. And the next set of tech is the mixed reality. So as I have been saying so far, that for the virtual reality, your entire world surrounding you is getting replaced by a simulated environment. On the contrary, for the AR, your world is not getting replaced, but you inscribe some text, videos, or audios, or some sort of pictures, etc. So not quite the full immersion. On the contrary, with the VR, you have the full immersion, but if you are not careful, you may end up in a scenario like Johnny English did in the movie I mentioned earlier. So this mixed reality, what it does, tries to find a mixed ground between the two. And so the reality surrounding us is not entirely replaced, but it certainly has got more features than AR can have. Because in AR, we cannot actually move those text or pictures to a large extent, or in fact, we can't move mostly. But in VR, in MR cases, we have more flexibility to play around objects, pictures, or those simulated stuff to be moved around. But I must say, this is a very futuristic technology. Companies like Microsoft, they call it more holographic experience. It is coming into the real, the application, more and more applications are coming in. Now, at that juncture, I would like to hand over to my guest, Michael. So, Michael, over to you now.
Okay, thank you. You set the scene very well there. I think so. I'm going to just see if I can share my screen,
Yeah.
which looks very similar. Okay, everybody can see that. Okay, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so just thought it'd be good to set the scene ourselves in context of the Digital Transformation Flexible Fund, in that what it should allow you to do. And for ourselves, to give you a bit of a background, we are now known as Rover, but our studio is essentially Yellow Design. And back in 2018, we were 10 years in, very successful, but we could see the future of digital changing, and we were asking ourselves, where can we go next? And at no point do you want to put the whole entire company at risk to try to pivot the whole company. But maybe there's an element of where we could go with this and take maybe 20% or a small project or a small task and begin to investigate. And that's what the Digital Transformation Fund will allow you to do. And what's kind of unique about it is allow you to buy capital spend and hardware. So we found back in 2018, 2019, we were on this journey of kind of dabbling around innovation, a mixture of design and creativity, but really trying to make our way towards commercialization. And where we hear about things talking about the journey, the digital journey that you're on, I also like to think about it as the purpose. What is it we're trying to do? And for us, it was about looking after our existing customers. It always seems to hang around people. And if you can hook in with the right kind of people and the right kind of people with passion who have this kind of vision, and that might be rough, I think it's a really great way to begin working. And that's essentially what happened with us, that in 2018, 2019, we developed what we call AR360. We had a lot of clients in the advanced manufacturing stage, including Thompson Aero. who created all the aircraft seats down and Portadown. Down. We would produce all their marketing material, but we were saying, wouldn't it be amazing if you could start bringing this through into like a virtual reality headset, things like that, and which we did. Then we could see that the whole thing about the mixed reality, which has been touched upon, it's a great sense of the art of visual communication. It rather than just taking photography or print or your traditional ways of media, it allows you to go an extra level, really like forward. For us, then we realized that we in ourselves could pivot. We had the right kind of team of creativity and technology, and you have to work out these two things together. But also as well, just you will need to do this, and there's companies like ourselves happy to help. So in regards to trying to evaluate what's been talked about VR versus AR versus all the goggles and the things, the headsets, but also the content. Like, do you have, if you're in advanced manufacturing, maybe you already have the CAD files already existing, which is a great start. Can they be customized? Can they be interactive? But the key thing here in the bottom right-hand corner is the business case. Because you'll probably, one, to qualify for funding, you'll need to show that there's a business case, but also internally for your CFO or the person who controls the finances, you really want to genuinely show that you're able to solve a problem using this kind of technology. And that's really what we done in regards to AR360. We got to understand what the capabilities were. But the real thing for me was that it tracks real-time data. So it's not just that it lets you do these amazing, exciting things, but actually tracks every interaction that somebody does, clicks on and things like that. But for Thomson Aero, then we were able to go back and work with them on how the internal assembly training for new recruits and how to build the seats. We were able to work with other clients like Lithium Works, and actually I'm presenting here from Munich because I'm about to go off to a show as one of our customers, which is an amazing thing 5 or 6 years ago, the journey of how to install these battery packs into the back of coaches. Cubis are based down towards Lurgan, and how they assemble this kit, because they had a real problem where people were putting these kind of things together wrong. So on behalf of our clients, we were able to solve their problem and generate revenue thing. And then another one, ConverTech, for sales and marketing. They couldn't put these conveyor belts in the back of their cars or vans and ship them. So what we done is we created these virtually, and they were able to go and visit factories and actually launch these at full scale and show the clients, like the Royal Mail, exactly how everything would fit and operate. And really, again, back to this art of visual communication, really show people what the capabilities of their products were. So that's advanced manufacturing. The other thing I want to talk about is tourism. So if anybody's on the call from a tourism kind of visitor attraction background, our purpose as well is that we really do want Belfast to be the leader in smart digital tourism. And they want to understand visitor behavior, the data, which I've just talked about, and things like that, and how to make things extend people's stay. We looked across different benchmarking against other competitors in the market and tourism space, which I recommend you always do. So Boston had like the Freedom Trail, which is painted on the ground. And we were asking, well, if we use this technology, augmented reality, rather than paint it on the ground, could our line change direction or change shape every day depending on what the best of Belfast could offer? Could we have multiple lines then for shopping, for food, for drink? And if we're using this augmented reality as a virtual way of doing it, could we actually make things like Titanic, the ship, reappear back on the slipways without incurring the costs of actually building the physical ship? And then we also, by engaging and listening and solving problems, we realized that Belfast City Council and a lot of tourism organizations really don't have real-time data. So we were going to, if we can crack this really will help us in regards on the way towards commercialization. So we actually have built the Titanic at full scale. We've done this numerous years ago, actually pre-COVID, and had this down to 70 megabyte high detail, and it just operates on somebody's mobile phone. So they're able to walk around the Titanic area, and we're working with the Titanic distillery, and they're able to do things like this. We also then took things like, and this is during our R&D stage, because just go back to digital transformation, it is a case of the journey. You're in an early stage of research and development. So gamification, we transformed C.S. Lewis Square into, I'll just play a small snippet of this, that when you go through a virtual wardrobe, you actually enter into the likes of Narnia. and you go and you collect your points and your different things for all the different items you find. We produce products and starting to look at this, how things can be repeated. So this is a walking trail, in this instance here, the Belfast Peace Walls. And then also up where tennis and the public transport system, taking public spaces and actually putting in things like DeLorean racing, where kids can actually then launch full-scale cars and go racing around the tracks. So our funding and the way digital transformation is allowed us to go and investigate and really understand the technologies and things like this, and you will be able to do likewise. So Yellow Design then essentially became Rover. We really did crank it up, and that pivot, that I said at the start, maybe at 20% of the company, actually flipped the other way, that 80% of our company really started getting a real boost and focusing in on augmented reality. And 20% was then web design and the animations and the typical marketing stuff that we would usually do. We understood our market more, that sustainability kept coming up, that smarter, that people wanted the data, and then we would step in with innovation. And we've done things like this about how to create the simple experience using augmented reality in a world where less is more, so that we could bring what we call a hub and spoke model, deliver the right kind of information. This is back to the red line that's painted through Boston. But could we do it better? And we actually done it this by inventing this augmented pod. So when I open up my phone, I can see this virtual pod around me. And what it's doing is highlighting the 6 nearest attractions or events. Or if I want to go out in the evenings for a bite to eat, I can call up and show me the 6 nearest restaurants. And essentially that becomes my hub of information, of which then we could bring in all the different spokes of storytelling and things like that. And really, it became a smart guide, the center of our smart guide product that we've developed for every city. But it's more the power of what I want to show you is what augmented reality in this instance is doing, and actually how we have been commissioned and how you can utilize it if you're in the tourism and the visitor attraction. We've done a whole rake of thing with Westminster in regards to putting in and delivering the product, in regards to highlighting retail. Jimi Hendrix lived in the Oxford Street district, highlighting places where you can get your coffee and your stop-off points. There is some of the AR experience with like Jimi Hendrix guitar, oversized, just off Oxford Street, and just different experiences, which was great. And there's the Peace Walls. So in regards to, as we were building something, and I encourage you to do the same, you're looking for productization. So there's the Peace Walls, then transform the same kind of content, kind of just the content changed slightly to work down through Hyde Park. And then using augmented reality, we then pushed it on our level where we built our own platform. And we started really selling this out on a licensed model where the client could actually control and put the different content that's going to appear for the customer. And in return, we can use that real-time data. And this is what you're able to do with augmented reality and all the mixed realities of actually collecting real-time data to generate heat maps and all the different things that go with it. Yeah. So just briefly closing out, you'll need to understand your market, the size of how to commercialize this, how to license it. But it's amazing the opportunities that have then opened up, because we're now working with the RTA, the Dubai Metro. Very much in the same kind of product, the look and feel, you'll see it at all rinses and repeats. Doing things like polar explorations, letting kids and families bringing AR experiences into Dubai Marina, bringing in wheels where people can watch and think. And it's all about sustainability in a fun way. But this is more about the opportunities that it's opened for us in city districts out in the UAE. We got the opportunity to work with Game of Thrones and the attractions and the tourism space, what I've been talking about. And then also within shopping malls and things that's in regards to retail and the wayfinding, that you just find that this thing populates over different sectors. So we've done things like racing games out in Abu Dhabi. Bring that down a wee bit. And then actually just bring that through, but the data, everybody seems to want their data, which is amazing because it's a differentiator. And then that's got us in with like winning the competition recently with Dubai Airport. And it's not about what we're doing. What I'm really saying is your investment in R&D and innovation and that purpose of actually putting it through is the real driver, and the rewards will come later in a very successful manner. And just finishing out one last example. This is actually to do with property. But Aldar were saying to us, look, because you built Titanic, Michael, and you've done the racing game there in our shopping mall, could you make the cultural district of Abu Dhabi appear at full scale? So there was only one way to do it. We basically built them a quick prototype. They were really amazed by it, and we ended up getting fully commissioned. There was 5 or 6 different points they want to cover: enhancing customer experiences, using accelerating technology solutions, the data, the insights, the revenue, and so on. And that's essentially what we were able to do. So we're holding up the iPad. You're actually able to see the whole entire building at full scale, rather than the audio, the immersive sounds, and you're able to walk through it, and then go up into the apartment and actually configure and control things like that. But that can be a car, that can be a configurator for any other thing that you might want to work on. And that, in many ways, is a quick synopsis of all the different things, the aftercare service. But in reality, that's a very broad brush of what we ourselves at Rover, and the journey I've been on since Yellow Design the studio over the last 5 years, using augmented reality, and hopefully I've been able to showcase how it works for touching upon how it works for advanced manufacturing, tourism, visitor attractions, and property and things like that as well. Yeah. So yeah, that's me pretty much finished my part. Yeah.
Thank you, Michael. So let me bring back my slides again. Right, so
Yeah, just to mention there while you're doing that, I actually really I do need to nip on the conference here in a few minutes. So if anybody's got
sure.
any questions, I'm more than happy to take some of them now, but I literally do need to leave here in about 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, just so
Okay, no problem. Any question for Michael at the moment? Because Michael needs to head off to a conference. Any question from any of our audience, member of audience for Michael? And then, okay, so I think there are some question. Okay, what is the best way to build the business case to justify the use of AR? How does one typically quantify the return on investment? Do you have any examples of how this was achieved? I think, Michael, would you like to take those questions?
yeah. Yeah. Rod, my thing is that, the DTFF fund, that is brilliant, and everybody's talking about this transformational journey and stuff like that. And I would almost bring it back to yourselves personally, going, either you're a business owner or you work for a company, and really asking yourself this nice challenge, going, what could I actually do that really would be exciting? What's the next chapter that's going to really light your fire in a certain way and get you motivated and really enjoy it? You might be halfway through your career, age-wise, or different things like that. But that's what I done. I was like, if I'm designing more websites, more PowerPoints and things like that, don't know, this is going back 5, 6 years ago. I think I was going to drive myself mad. So I had to almost go on this personal as much as a professional journey to go, where can I go with this? And it's just constantly asking yourself them questions. It's not going to pop out overnight. It's just asking yourself, looking at the business, going, if it was to take 20% of this business and I wanted to try to change it and transform it, what could I do without putting the risk of your career or your business at risk? Just take a small part of it. And that's the beginning. That's your first chapter, would be my advice. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other question for Michael? No. So okay. So
Yeah.
thanks, Michael. So thank you very much for it was very insightful. So just a very small question around your journey, Michael. I think that might also, enlighten our audience is what other obstacles that might be on the way, and what would be your suggestion to combat them?
Yeah, I just think as I've seen there, I've said in a couple of these DTFF sessions, and I think it's more the fact that you're showing the vision of where you want to go,
Hmm.
but you don't need to show where you're going to be in 5, 6, 10 years time. It's really that how you're going to pivot and change that direction and start heading off in that direction. Is an easier way just to boil this down and manage it. To show maybe what you'd like to try to achieve for the next 24 months, 36 months to do in that sense, and how you're going to approach it, things like that. So I'm sorry, just one quick question the answer. Emil has a question. What approach did you take to get grants on NI? Um, we were fortunate to get some SBRI funding back from Tourism Ireland back in 2019, but you need I really like the DTFF. I've seen the application. It's not overcomplicated.
Hmm.
So that's kind of gives a thumbs up. Where sometimes you're chasing your business, I would say at 20%, they go chasing application forms, and you'll find out that it's very bureaucratic, it slows you down. And don't be changing your business just to get funding. Change your business because you believe in it and you believe that there's a necessity to do it, and that's your purpose. Yeah, so I'll leave us on that note. And as I say, I've put in michael@rover.com at the bottom in the chat if anybody wants to send an email or things like that. I'm more than happy to pick it up. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Michael. Have a
Okay.
nice conference time.
Thank you. Cheers, Ed. Bye.
Cheers. Bye. Right. So I will just wrap up the session with a few more um, useful information about further help and support, and then I will offer more, time for Q&A if anyone has, or otherwise I will close the session at that time. So in the beginning, while discussing the DTFF, I mentioned one fact, which is quite an important one, that you must have a business transformation plan. That is a, a complete must. Now, while it is a complete must for getting through the application process, which is quite a competitive one, it's also a fact that it is not something that you do it day in, day out basis. So it's not that something you do it everyday basis. And to start with, it could be quite a daunting task. So we do understand that you do have you don't do you don't do something like writing applications for grant or funding everyday purposes of your business. So to ease your burden, we can redirect you to some of the support mechanisms. Although we cannot directly write down the application for you, for obvious reason, to avoidance of the conflict of interest, but we can redirect you to some of the support mechanisms where you can actually develop your skill set more of a longer term basis rather than, just particularly focusing on this DTFF application. So for example, you can approach the further education colleges across NI. You can approach the Queen's University Belfast. I will show you in the next slide a few more details on that. The University of Ulster has got Smart Manufacturing Data Hub, or even the local councils and authorities have enterprise support system. Innovate NI has some of the support mechanisms, or any others relevant support mechanism you identify you could approach. For further details, I would strongly encourage you to log on to this DTFF website. Now, in terms of the support mechanisms we provide at Queen's University Belfast, we do have business clinics where a MSc student in analytics area will work, offer some consultancy through the business clinic, or you could have a data duo monitoring or meeting of minds. In terms of particularly relevant to the William J. Clinton Leadership Institute, we have a dedicated team of experienced program directors, academic members of staff, research specialists, and support team members. We do have executive programs, or we do have custom programs and programs like digital transformation toolbox or business analytics, data analytics. We do have very wide variety of programs available as part of the William J. Clinton Leadership Institute as well. For more information, please do scan this QR code, and I hope you will find the right information. So as I said, this is a part of a webinar series. There will be one more webinar next Tuesday on digital transformation and how to build your digital strategy. And the recording of the session will be available on the YouTube site of the William J. Clinton Leadership Institute. And I think that is pretty much it from my side. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And I will now take any question anyone has. Right. What is that? Okay, what time is the session on 25th of June? If it is the webinar you are talking about, because on 25th of June, I think there will be a briefing session as well. I forgot what time the briefing session is, but if you're talking about the webinar series, I think it is the same time. All the webinars are at 2 p.m. on Tuesday. Okay. Any other question, anyone? When modeling this technology through funding, are we doing partnership with QEB as a business to get the funding? Not sure if I quite get your question, but what you are, I think I'm guessing what you're trying to ask, if QUB can be involved directly as part of the funding application, and the answer is no, because we are involved in the DTFF funding, delivery partner. We are working as a delivery partner, and we will be also involved in the assessment of the applications. So for the avoidance of conflict of interest, we cannot be directly involved. However, as I mentioned through the further support slides, you are more than welcome to contact us for finding out what are the different opportunities that exist within the Queen's University Belfast, and which are more targeted towards developing your long-term skill set rather than particularly for one incident, like one application like DTFF. It is those mechanisms, those supporting mechanisms include the skill set DTFF requires, but that's like more of a broader scheme of thing, if that makes sense. So we cannot directly be involved in DTFF by writing help, offering you consultancy like how to write the application. In that sense, we cannot do that for avoidance of conflict of interest, if that makes sense. Right. So when is the cohort 3 of DTFF going to start open for application? Right. So I think from my vague memory, 17th of June, which was yesterday, that was the first briefing sessions. And the briefing sessions will continue for a few more days, I think well into the next week. And then when all the briefing sessions are over, there will be a deadline for the expression of interest. For the correct dates, I would suggest you please log on to the DTFF's website. So, I mean, it's good that I'm still sharing the screen because I'm going to redirect you there. So, yes, so please log on to this website, www.dtff.co.uk, and just avoid the further support part. Just log on to the to dtff.co.uk. There you will get more information about the call 3 and the deadlines. But usually the usual setup is we have a few pre-briefing sessions, and once those pre-briefing sessions are over, you have the first set of deadline for the expression of interest to be submitted. And then if you are successful, then you'll be invited for the full application, and all those deadlines will be mentioned in the DTF's website. Right, so I've got another screen and another set of questionnaires separate from here. Now, I don't know how two got separated, but I'm just trying to answer those as well. Okay, what approach did you take to get the grants in NI? So I think that was a question for Michael. So unfortunately, Michael had to leave early, but please do email Michael. Michael has left his email address. Please do email Michael. So michael@rover.com. So that's the email address. So please do establish contact with Michael because Michael is happy to take that. And the next question I have here in the other chat box is the Digital Transformation Flexible Fund. We are looking for the product list. Again, I'm guessing you are wondering what sort of technology you can buy. Now, again, the list is mentioned in the DTFF's website. So please log on to dtff.co.uk, where you will find the list of technologies from which you can make a purchase. From my vague memory, I can tell you, but from my vague memory, I remember immersive technologies, AI-based technologies, big data-based technologies, IoT or Internet of Things, blockchains, and there is one more which I can't just remember on top of my head, but there are like 6 different set of technologies. The 6th one is robotics. So robots, cobots, that sort of technology. So any one or more than one from this 6 different set of technologies, you can actually make a purchase. But rather than relying on my brainstormed memory, it might be a good idea if you please log on to DTFF's website and have a look for yourself, because that's where you'll get all the information. Any final set of questions, anyone? Right, so there's one more question on the other chat box. If we need tools and software, can that be used for funding support of DTF or only hardware or software too? Well, I mean, we are going to talk about these in the briefing sessions as well. So I would encourage you to attend the briefing sessions as well, whichever briefing session is closest to you, or I think there are some online ones as well. And there are in-person briefing sessions as well, nearest to your council area. And the information should be available on DTFF's website. But from my vague memory, it could be a combination of software and hardware, as long as that is relevant to the technology. of the, one or more of those 6 technologies. And as long as you are able to demonstrate the fact that it is not an ongoing revenue cost you are incurring, it is a capital investment you are making. That's a very important part, because DTFF is not going to fund anything relevant to revenue-based investment. It's a ongoing revenue-based expenditure. They're not going to make any, support that. They're only supporting the capital ones. And also, more importantly, as I said, or as I've been saying since the beginning, that you need to have a good plan. So it's not just about the technology, rather, where where do you want to take your business from where you are now? As Michael has already demonstrated that set a plan for yourself, or set a vision for yourself, and it's a similar thing here, similar exercise you need to do as well, that where do you want to take your business from here in 4 or 5 years time now? And that vision must be translated into a business plan sort of thing. And so, yeah, what I would suggest, have a look through the various materials or the sample application forms from DTFF's website. You will get an idea what kind of information you need to provide, etc., etc. And of course, we can't write the application for you, but if would like to, if you'd like to develop your skill set around creating that sort of business plan, more than welcome that you approach any of the further support mechanism. And this DTFF website has got the details of that as well. Okay. Any other question, anyone? Any final set of questions? Let me double check the other screen as well. Yeah, I think I have answered most of the questions from the other screen as well. And if anyone's questions still remain unanswered, because I've gone through quite a few navigation by scrolling up and down, if anyone's question I haven't answered, it must be an oversight from my end. So please type it. Would you mind type it again? Or otherwise, I will assume I have answered all the questions you have. Okay, looks like I might have answered most, if not all, the questions. So on that note, I would like to thank you for joining this session today, and I hope Michael's example has kind of enlightened you, like how and where to set the vision, and what are the the early talks around what are the benefits you can get out of AR, VR, and what sort of technologies you can make use of it. And I hope you have some take home from those. So I hope those take home information messages are a good food for your thought. And if you are interested in the DTFF briefing sessions, please register to the most convenient and the relevant one for yourself. And again, log on to the DTFF for more information. And I hope to see some of you there in the DTFF sessions. You will find either myself or one of my other colleagues, one or other colleagues over there. So on that note, let me draw a conclusion to this session today. And once again, thank you very much. And I wish you good luck on your DTFF application, if that is something what you on the cards for you. So thank you.